Hello and welcome to our show, Changing Lives. I'm your host, Susan Catanzaro, and we have a guest with us, Gina Russo, who has started a ministry called Broken Chains Ministries. And I just believe that as you watch this show, that we believe that your life will be changed in some way or somehow. This show may not be for you, the Broken Chains Ministry, and you'll hear all about it when Gina speaks, but it may be for someone that you know. So we hope that you would stay tuned and watch our show and listen, and either way, we just believe that your life will be changed. Gina, thank you so much for coming on our show. Our guest, Gina Russo.
Thank you.
Thank you
I'm
for
so
being
happy
here.
to be here. This is great. I'm excited.
I'm very
I'm blessed.
excited and blessed as well, and just very excited to hear about your ministry, how you started this ministry.
Okay.
There's so much that has happened. You started this ministry in July, right?
Yeah.
Of 2011. We're only in the beginning of December, and your ministry has already, has really skyrocketed.
Yeah.
God has opened up so many doors for you. But before you tell us all about that, I'd like to have you start out with, what led you up to this ministry?
Oh, boy. Well, it was a long, rough road.
Okay.
I was born into a family of believers. My mother and father are pastors of a church currently. So my mother was always a spiritual woman, always had a relationship with the Lord. My father shortly came along after when he got saved, and now they have their church.
Wow.
So I came from a good foundation. But apparently, I guess the Lord had a plan for me since before I was even born, as he does for everybody. Everybody. So I guess the enemy tried to come in at some point in my life, which he did, to try and destroy me, really, to prevent me from where I am right now.
Wow.
And what happened was I ended up in an abusive marriage where there was drugs involved. I ended up, because of the abuse, it was financial abuse, physical abuse, psychological abuse. I went into this relationship not knowing anything. It didn't appear to be anything bad at all. As a matter of fact, it appeared to be the complete opposite.
Kind of like a wolf in sheep's
clothing. A wolf in
clothing?
sheep's clothing, but really it was just a plan and a plot of the enemy. I'm certainly not here to bash anybody or badmouth anybody from my past. That's
Absolutely not.
I have nothing but prayers and blessings for everybody from my past. So
Praise
I want to
God.
definitely clear that up. But I do, at the same time, want to tell my story. So,
Yes. And that is part of your story.
that is part of my story, yeah. So the devil used my ex-husband as a tool to try to destroy me and to try to destroy him. And so, I was in this relationship. There was abuse of every kind, and I ended up on drugs because the man I was married to was a drug addict when I got married, and I didn't know, and it just spiraled out of control. And if anybody that's listening to this show will clearly understand, if they've been in an abusive relationship, you feel like you're stuck. You don't know what to do. My family, being Christians, were, just appalled at my behavior. I mean, I went from one extreme to the other. I mean, it was horrible. It was just a really bad scene. My life just spiraled out of control. I tried to kill myself. My husband tried to kill me.
Wow.
I mean, just all kinds of craziness. And the drugs just made it all worse. I ended up in jail. He ended up in jail.
Wow.
My children suffered tremendously. And
you had children?
I had children. I actually had a 1-year-old when I first met my second husband. My first husband was, he also suffered from this, as well as the abusive relationship I was in. He was also married.
So it was the first husband?
Yeah, it was my second husband that was the it was the tool of the devil, if you will.
Okay,
yeah.
the second husband.
So yeah, I had been married before that. So a lot of people suffered, is what I'm trying to say, and because that's just typical of these types of situations. The whole family suffers. And that actually took a long time for me to forgive myself for hurting all those other people, never mind myself and my ex-husband. It was a long road. You know, like I said, the devil just tried to destroy me, tried to kill me, tried to put me on drugs, have me kill myself, the whole 9 yards. I lost everything that I ever had, ever. I lost houses, cars, personal items, family heirlooms that I could never replace. I was in jail. I mean, you name it, it happened. I was homeless. I slept in my car, and I didn't have a car. I was humiliated and embarrassed. It was just awful.
Was it for years or a short period?
The whole scenario lasted about, I don't know, 8 years, 9 years, something
Long
like
enough
that.
time.
And my ex-husband, unfortunately, well, it was kind of a bittersweet situation that he actually ended up in jail, and so that's when the Lord had me to himself. He's like, okay, Gina, all of that is over. Now you're mine. And so within about, I don't know, 8 months after my ex-husband had been gone to jail, I was really still in a very, very dark place. I mean, just horrible. I was still doing drugs because at that point I had no life.
You were addicted.
No friends. It wasn't even that.
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
once I went out to get the drugs, yes, I wanted more and more. Okay. But my problem was extreme loneliness. My problem was
wow.
just I had given up. Well, I have no life now. Why not go out? And those were the only friends I had. The only friends I had were people who were doing the same things I was doing. Right. All my good friends had gone. I just had no hope, none. So I didn't care if I was getting high or if I was drinking, or I didn't care what I was doing because I had no purpose in life anymore. The enemy had come in and tried to steal my purpose, and I thought that he did. And I actually said to myself, or to the Lord, Lord, what is to become of me? I was so good before. I mean, I'm not sitting here saying I was wonderful, but in other words, my life was good before. And now I have given up. I am like an empty shell, just like a wet noodle, basically. Wow. And I had given up. And I even got to the point where I stopped crying out to the Lord, because I had cried out to the Lord so much. I mean, screamed and cried, and just desperation. And it seemed like he just wasn't answering. He just wasn't there, and I just didn't understand. Until now. And finally, after a while, I stopped crying out to the Lord, and it's then when, in that quietness, in my complete giving up, shut my mouth, stop whining and stop complaining, that the Lord spoke to me clear as I'm speaking to you right now.
Wow.
And he said, go to Virginia. And now he said, go to Virginia because I have a wonderful Christian sister that I've known for 30 years. Her name is Jean.
Okay.
And
she's in Virginia.
She lives in Virginia. And she had come up from Virginia to visit all throughout the time I was in this relationship, and she always was just praying and believing, Gina, this isn't you, this isn't where you're at, God has a plan for you, you are a strong woman, you have a plan, please, and she would always take me to Christian meetings and events and functions and take me to see ministers, and
praying that you would stop that lifestyle.
Yeah. She took me to every evangelistic service and everything that she could when she was up here, and then always when she left she said, please come and call me, you can come to Virginia anytime you want. So when the Lord spoke to me and said go to Virginia, in that moment, this was in May of this year, that the Lord said to me go to Virginia, and I was at my darkest hour. And I said, you know what, I'm like, yeah, bump this, I'm out of here, I hate these people, I'm leaving, I don't want to be around these people anymore, I don't want to be around this area. So I still had this angry and just miserable and bitter attitude even after hearing from the Lord. I'm like, yeah, I'm getting out of here, bump this place, right? So I went off to Virginia, but this was in May. I called my friend Gina and I said, can I come? And she was ecstatic.
Oh,
but she could not have me down there until June. and she
right.
had plans. And so
Wow.
in the middle of June, she called me and said, well, I'm going to be there at the end of June. I'll come and get you, and you can come back with me. In the meantime, the church that she belongs to, unbeknownst to her, had at the last minute planned this 30-day revival service
Okay.
with a wonderful evangelist. His name is Todd Bentley. And God chose to send me to Virginia to this 30-day revival that was with Todd Bentley. He's a powerful, mighty man of God, called, chosen like crazy. And someday I hope to be like him.
Absolutely.
And so that's where I went down to Virginia, and I spent the whole summer there. I went to this revival service every single night.
For the 30
For
days?
30 days. The only time I
Praise
did not
God.
go is when I actually was so sick I had to go to the emergency room.
Wow.
Other than that, and I stopped at church on my way to the emergency room.
Now, at this time, you had stopped doing drugs. I mean, you must have had, didn't you have like any withdrawals? Was that
Nothing.
making you sick?
Nothing.
Wow.
Nothing.
That's the Lord.
By the time I got from Rhode Island to Virginia, my life had already changed. He had already
miracle.
delivered me out of all the darkness, healed my pain. I mean, by the time I got there, I was a different person. And that was at the very beginning. I still had another 40 days. I was there for about 40 days,
Just
believe it or not.
amazing. I mean, that's just a miracle, because if you talk to people who, just smokers alone, when they stop smoking cigarettes, they
Yeah.
have that withdrawal. Or even, I noticed if I stop drinking coffee, I get like, a little bit of a headache, or, from the caffeine. So that is God had really done a
It
miracle.
was a complete
with
and
you.
utter, snapped his fingers and a transformation occurred. And that is what the Lord is doing now in this new awakening. It's almost like, I don't even like to say revival, because God is just moving in on the world and the people and his children. He's moving in a mighty way in this time, in this season. And that's why he's raising people up like me and many others to just launch people into it, like it's like a new generation, and it's just a new fresh fire. It's a new wind of the Spirit, and it's a new awakening that's happening right now. And New England,
That's right. I believe that.
has been said by many prophets from around the world that God has got some serious revival power coming to New England.
Yeah, I believe
And
it.
so while I was in Virginia, I had many prophecies. I mean, people, every time I was in church, at least one or two people came up to me and said, I have a word for you. The Lord has just broke through in your life. He's
Praise
about
the
to
Lord.
launch you. You have a ministry for women, for abused women. I mean, these are people who didn't know me. I had a handful of prophecies and words, at least 2 handfuls.
They didn't even know that
They
you were
didn't
abused.
know. They knew nothing. They didn't know my name. I was just a visitor.
So God used them to encourage you.
Totally.
To speak through them.
And so it was there that, at night when I would come home from church, the Lord would sometimes literally keep me up all night long. I would not sleep, and I would just write and write and write. And he gave me this whole ministry. He gave me the name Broken Chains Ministries. He told me that I would have a home for these women. He even showed me the property. And I
Really?
went onto the internet, and there was a property that he had shown me earlier in the year, which I thought was for somebody else, but really it was for Broken Chains Ministries. And he just downloaded me this whole revelation, just completely
And that
came
was in
It's like he
June?
came through my head and just went. And
then
now
you
he
just
just
started
keeps
writing it.
Yeah.
Now, was that in June of this year?
It was in July.
July.
Like
so a
I went
month
down
after.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep. I was there from I think June 27th, and I came home August 1st. So, I was there from June 23rd. I can't remember. It was between 30 and 40 days somewhere. I was down there.
Wow.
And yeah, and everybody was just so excited for me, because everybody saw this big future and they all said, it's going to happen now. This is not a future prophecy. The Lord is working now.
Wow.
He brought you down here to transform your life, so that when you go back home, you can tell everybody in your area not only what God has done for you, but what he's about to do for everybody in your area.
Wow.
So this is why I'm here.
It's amazing.
This is why I'm
Absolutely
here.
amazing. Now, how did your family, how were they when you came home? Shocked?
Well, they were scared.
They were scared.
Well, because I had been so pumped up with so much fire. I was so excited, which is normal.
Yeah.
I mean, when you come from the pits of hell, where the devil is trying to literally kill you, and then suddenly the Lord transforms your life, let me tell you, you're excited.
You're excited.
You're
yes.
ecstatic, and you want to go and tell everybody how good God is.
Amen.
And so, because my mother and father have a church, and they knew that they wanted me to give a testimony when I got back, they were afraid I was just going to scare all the people because I'm so...
You were so pumped up and so on fire. You know what it was?
So on fire.
You were dead, and then you became alive.
Totally.
More
I'm
alive
happy and
than-
excited about it.
Absolutely. I mean, it's just amazing. If you're just tuning in, you're watching our show, Changing Lives. I'm your host, Susan Catanzaro, and my guest is Gina Russo. Gina is the founder of Broken Chains Ministries, and as you watch the show, you're going to hear more and more about her ministry, and it is amazing. In 4 months, where she has come from the beginning stages of her ministry until now, and you haven't even heard what is going on. So stay tuned to hear this. But all right, so now, God has told you you're going to be the founder of this ministry. Well, how do you start the ministry? How did you start? Well, you had a foundation with your parents.
Yes.
And having the church. So did you do something through the church?
Well,
start it?
it's hard. It's really, I mean, so much has happened so quickly that it's really hard for me to even remember, to be honest with you,
How it
because
started.
when the Holy Spirit comes in and moves, if you don't write stuff down, it happens so quickly, you just go on to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing, and that's just what's been happening. But I did have the foundation, yes, of Oasis of Grace Church, which is my home base church. It's my parents' church. And so it just basically, what happened is it started off with me giving a testimony.
Okay.
I would get on the pulpit and I would give a testimony, and the Lord would give me like a word, and I would speak just for a few minutes, and people just started to come up to me
for help.
Yeah, and of course I said, part of my testimony is that I've started this ministry, and if anybody knows a woman that needs help, please, come to me, and it's my phone number. And
so that's how it started.
That's how it started. The Lord just sent people to me. I didn't have to do anything, to be honest with you.
They just came.
All I did was stand on the pulpit and announce the ministry, and announce what God's plan was, and the vision that He had given me. And He did the rest. He did it all. He sent people. He sent Brother Richard over here, who's running our cameras, and you. And but even before that, people would just come up to me and say, "Oh, I know somebody who needs help," or "I know somebody who could help you," or different things like that. He also, as part of the plan for the ministry, is to have a transition house for women to come who are coming out of or need a place to escape to, if they're in an abusive relationship, or if they're coming out of a rehab or an emergency shelter. And we're going to call it the Freedom House. The Lord gave me the name, the Freedom House.
Praise the Lord.
And as part of the Freedom House program, which is just a section of Broken Chains Ministries.
Okay.
But as part of the Freedom House program, we're going to utilize horses, or quote-unquote equine therapy, as part of a healing and restoration program.
That sounds great.
And so the Lord told me this while I was in Virginia, and I had no horse. I didn't even know anybody that had horses. And I came home, and by the time September came, I not only had a horse, but I had a whole new group of friends that were horsewomen for years. And the horse came to me for practically free. It was a dream horse that I had a vision of, that the Lord fulfilled this desire of my heart, was to have a horse again. I used to have horses when I was a child.
So where did you put the horse?
The horse is still at the place where I got her from my friend Jules Martins. She's a wonderful woman. God used her. He sent her to me which I thought was to bless me, because she blessed me with this horse, who is a granddaughter of Secretariat, I have to say. I'm very proud. Not proud, I'm blessed. This horse is a miracle from God, that I have this incredible horse that's worth thousands of dollars, and I paid like nothing for this horse. And I met this woman, Jules. So I thought, she's blessing Broken Chains Ministries, but really God is about doing double and quadruple and, blessings for everybody. It's like blessings on the house for everybody,
So you're blessed, and she's blessed.
She's getting blessed. Her life has changed. She has come to know the Lord in a whole new way. She's been coming, to Bible studies, and she just wants to be a part of Broken Chains Ministries, and she is, and she's going to help run the equine program.
Amazing.
And helping the women and the horses, and it's just been an incredible blessing, both, back and forth. And that's just one example of the people that God is sending me. He's also sent me accountants, he's sent me lawyers, he's sent me architects. Oops, I'm not supposed to say that section of the ministry yet, but God, there's a big, huge vision, and so he's providing all the people.
Well, we'll talk about that in our next show.
Yeah.
It's just amazing, though, just how quickly, God is bringing everything, together to put this ministry together. And I know when we met, not only, you blessed my life. And Gina is such a blessing. She is just someone who is a go-getter, as you can just tell by listening to her. She actually started helping with my ministry at a coffee house where Gina helps me in the kitchen. And, so you're a blessing.
Great time.
So here you are coming on our show, and that's a blessing to you, but you have blessed me. So, anyone who, it's just obvious that comes across your life, you're a blessing to them, and they're a blessing to you. And, like you said, the double blessing. And we just praise God for that. That's just amazing.
He's really, what God is doing right now is just unlike anything we've ever seen. And there have been great awakenings in the past, and there have been revivals in the past, and they were all wonderful. But in this season, God is preparing us for his return, and we all know that it's coming really soon.
Yes.
And I believe that this great awakening and this mighty move of God that's happening now is really a wake-up call for not only the ones that know the Lord, but the ones that don't know the Lord, to say, hey, this is something serious here. If you don't come to me, and if you don't give your life to me, if you don't give your life to Jesus, then your future is, not bright at all.
Right.
So the Lord doesn't want people to suffer. The Lord is in the business of salvation. The Lord is in the business of deliverance, just like he did for me. I'm not special. I'm just Gina.
God doesn't have a respecter of persons.
He's not a respecter of persons at all. He may choose a couple of people here and there as just, like a testimonial kind of thing, like for me, and maybe other people will come to him through, people's stories and things, but he really is just calling. He's screaming out for people to come to him, because he doesn't want anybody to be hurting, not make it, or not make it to heaven if they were to pass away. He wants all his children with him, and he loves us, and he wants to bless us. He wants to give you the desires of your heart. He wants nothing more than to transform your life, to forgive you, and just for you to just come to him and to love him back. That's all he wants. It's very simple.
Every good gift comes from God.
Yes.
and everything else that is not good, we know where that comes from too. Well, did you get that house for your ministry for the women?
Well,
or you're in the process of getting a house? Is that what you said?
The Lord did show me a property in Smithfield, and he confirmed for me. He told me that this property was designated and anointed and appointed for Broken Chains Ministries. So I went to look at the property on August 1st, and it's the perfect layout. It's got plenty of room. It's on 25 acres of land.
Praise God.
It already has a 5-stall horse barn and plenty of rolling pastures, and the house itself is the way it's laid out is perfect for a transition house for a group of women.
So right now it's in the works.
Right now, I asked if they would consider to donate the property because it's a brand new ministry. We have no money.
Well, God will work it all out. Well, we have about 5 minutes, believe it or not, left to our show. And we want to hear more about this ministry. Okay. How many do you have women right now, and where, what are they doing?
Okay.
Because, the house is not there
We
yet.
don't have the house yet.
How are they,
Well, the women that the Lord is sending, He's sending them through the church.
Oh, okay.
Like a friend of a friend who's going through a rough time. So people are bringing women to the church. And so I'm utilizing Oasis of Grace Church as a home base to minister to women. I do, private appointments. I've actually helped a couple of women I had to help get into a hospital or a shelter or a rehab. And so the Lord is sending women for me to help, and it's frustrating for me that I can't provide them that place yet, but I do have the resources to take them where they need to go if they're ready and willing, or if they just need to make a phone call to me, if they just need, some to be ministered to, or if they're feeling down. They communicate with me by email or Facebook, or they call, or they just come to the church and meet with me there.
Yes.
Or I go out to people's homes.
Okay.
I go wherever I need to go to help people. This is my life. I eat, sleep, and drink Broken Chains Ministries.
Well, we have about 3 minutes left to our show, and if you're watching, and if you know someone who's a victim, or if you know someone who's suffering from abuse, you can contact Broken Chains Ministries. And what's the number, Gina, to contact you?
It's 401-359-4444.
So if you know someone, or if you yourself is hurting and in an abusive relationship, you can contact Broken Chains Ministries for help.
Please. Yes.
And what is your mission? I mean, we know what it is pretty much, but in your own words.
My mission is to. I don't want to see another human being go through what I went through.
Exactly.
And if I can save one life, then everything that I do is worth it. I have a passion for these women. I really do. And not only that, it's not just women. I want everybody to know the good news of Jesus Christ.
Absolutely.
That's really, the other part of this ministry is that I'll be launched as an evangelist as well. And I'll be traveling next year, delivering God's message. So.
Okay. Well, we have a couple more minutes.
Okay.
Yes, and so they would have that kind of deliverance like you have.
Yes, exactly.
Yes. So if they come across, what happened to you can happen to them. So
yes, God can deliver anybody. And I don't want people to feel embarrassed or shy to call. There's nothing I haven't seen or heard. There is no story that is too bad. Yes. Please feel free. It's come as you are.
Absolutely.
Come as you are.
Or if you know someone.
Or if you know somebody.
Don't be shy. If you have a neighbor, that you feel is being abused, do something about it. Because they're stuck, and they probably don't even know what to do. How does that all work?
It's hard.
We have 1 more minute to our show.
Well, if you know somebody that needs help and you don't know what to say to them, you pray. Pray to the Lord that the Lord will show you how to help that person, or that person can call me. Yes. If you know somebody, you call me, and we can pray together that the Lord will deliver that person.
So it could be someone in your family. It could be you that is watching. And if you're a victim or someone that is being abused, please, now's the time to make a difference in your life and change your life. God has changed Gina's life and delivered her from drugs and so many other things. And now Gina has this ministry, Broken Chains Ministry, that it's actually God's ministry.
Yes, it's all about Him. It's not about me at all. It's all about the Lord. We have
30 seconds left to our show. We thank you so much for watching our show. Thank you for tuning in to Changing Lives. And we look forward to seeing you again, and we're going to have Gina on again. So stay tuned, because she will come on again soon.
Yay.
And tell us more about this ministry. And we're going to have another guest come on.
Yes.
And talk about the horse. What is it called?
Babe.
Thank you for watching our show.